quick story. There was a boy named Zach who was detained in our facility. And Zach was detained probably about 15 times over the course of 2 years. We knew him very well. And Zach was one of those kids who made you work for your paycheck, right? There were stories about Zach that lasted generations after Zach had long departed, long after he aged out of adolescence. The last time Zach was detained happened to coincide with a group of new staff members who started in our facility. They had heard all the war stories about Zach. All the war stories. They knew the R of who he was. It was interesting, though, that last time he was detained, he was on the highest level, and he was there for a long time. He consistently led groups. He consistently was a role model to other kids on the unit. He consistently helped staff. But the perception of that new group of staff coming in was, ooh, you better watch your back for Zach. Again, we have to focus on the do and not the are. That takes work from us. It's much easier to stand back and watch for something bad to happen so that we can react. But if we want better behavior in our facilities, if we want safer facilities, we have to be proactive and connected to kids, because relationships are our most important safety tool. Last week I was in a state correctional facility for kids, and the kids wear, the uniforms, the staff wear uniforms, they look like guards. They wear the belts with all the tools, they carry the radios, they have keys. But one officer immediately caught my attention. He simply had presence. Now what I was observing was a state parole board hearing. Multiple kids going in front of parole agents, multiple kids being told they're not going home. I watched this officer, and he walked up to a kid, put his hand on his shoulder, not aggressively, but in a way that almost silently guided him to a better place. He simply had connection and presence. He moved him to a better place. And you could tell as he walked around, not only did the kids respect him, but the staff respected him too. That officer, because of that respect, because of that connection, because of that genuine presence, was impactful in toning down the situation. It's about presence. It's about connection. It's about genuine care. I ask you to remember 3 things from this talk. The first thing I'm inviting you to do is to take a look at yourself and ask some tough questions. The irony is you're watching this video as part of a training, but training is about how to do something. What I'd like to encourage you to do is ask yourself, how do I be something? Because ultimately, at our core, we work with people. Our work is about people. Behavior management, managing behavior, is about being with people. Don't get lost in the detail of a program or a philosophy. Get stuck in the spirit of what it takes to embrace a small behavior and nurture it to become something larger. Because a lot of behavior management is about you and who you are when you're with kids in this setting. As you're sitting there, ask yourself, who am I? Who do I want to be? Are you that officer standing in the background? Somebody passively sitting back, waiting for something to happen so that you can respond? Or are you someone who gets in the mix? Who influences, who teaches, who guides, who gains the trust of a young person? Again, who are you? Who do you want to be? I was lucky. I've worked with some of the best people I have ever known. And in countless small ways, I watched those people, those staff members, those officers, gain the trust of kids we serve every day. Whether it's bringing back a roll of toilet paper, checking in with them after a court date, knowing they were supposed to get a visit and didn't. They gained that trust. They put their money in the bank, that relationship bank that they have with a kid. You only build it up by being connected. And eventually you're going to have to discipline. You're going to have to make a withdrawal. And that's a whole lot easier if you have some connection, some money in the bank to buffer that withdrawal. When I was visibly pregnant, very visibly pregnant, I was covering a unit for some of my staff. And it was lunchtime. And a new kid who was in the facility immediately said to me, "Man, aren't you afraid to work here? There's some crazy kids up in this place." And I looked at him because, truthfully, the thought had never occurred to me. And it was so interesting. Instead of responding, I took a step back and I watched. I watched all the reactions of the other kids in the room. And it was almost as if they quietly formed a very protective circle around me. And they started challenging that kid's statement and his beliefs in a positive way. That never would have happened if I wasn't connected, if I wasn't genuine, and I wasn't respectful to the kids in that room. So I ask you, who are you? Who do you want to be? Because the bottom line is, if we want to manage behavior within our walls, we need to impact the kids we're with. Who are you? Who do you want to be? Some of us are lucky to have state-of-the-art buildings, research-based programs, great equipment. I asked you to remember 3 things from this talk. Number 1 was to challenge yourself. Who am I? Who do I want to be? The second one, any program is only as good as the staff members who deliver it. The quality of staff is that essential ingredient in the behavior management recipe. We cannot live without it. The values we bring to the work are minimally as important as any education or experience that we have. Values like respect, integrity, optimism. Managing behavior is an art. It takes work. If we want to be successful, if we want to work within safe facilities, we have to be willing to look at ourselves and what we bring. No behavior occurs in a vacuum. It doesn't just happen. There's things that happen before, there's things that happen after. And like it or not, sometimes we're that trigger. And that can lead up to a positive behavior, or that can be something that goes horribly wrong. The values we bring make a difference. Let's talk about optimism. That old saying, is the glass half empty or is it half full? Working with kids, we have to shift our mindset. The glass is always full. We have to radiate a belief that our kids can do better, that they can be better. I don't know about you. I don't want to be known as the kid I was at 16 years of age. In a few years, these kids will probably say the same. When I think of someone who's optimistic, I think of a woman I work with. Her name was Monica. And she was an officer in our facility. And honestly, if you were to open up the dictionary, look under the word optimism, you would see her picture there. She was the one everyone wanted to be around. We had privileges. It was a very positive, incentive-based system in our facility. And to the point where kids would be excited about the privileges they would earn. And they would ask staff, did I earn my points? Do I get my coupons? To the point where it was sometimes so annoying that staff would say, well, if you have to ask for it, you're not going to get it. Monica, interestingly enough, very rarely faced that challenge. Why? And so I was curious. So I asked a group of kids, why is that? And they told me, because we're confident she's on the lookout for the good stuff we do. And I said, well, how do you know that? They said, she tells us. She tells us all the time. She tells us right after we do it. And so we don't have to ask her because we know she's on the lookout. And they started talking about those other staff, who was, ironically, most of the other staff, right? Because Monica was the hero. But those other staff, who they felt were only sitting passively back, watching them for them to do something wrong. Monica defied their expectation, and it was very disarming.